Hello, everybody, and welcome to The View from Valhalla, your new favorite Pro Smite podcast. Today we're going to be going over SPL predictions. I'm your host, Will the Thrill, and we'll just get right into it. So first off, we're going to talk about NA, then we're going to talk about EU, we're going to go over the schedules, and we're going to get in detail about who's going to place where. So without further ado, let's talk a little bit about NA rosters. So first off, you guys already know a lot about Flashpoint and Noble probably if you're following the Pro League. They obviously made changes to get through relegations, and they were smart changes too, especially in the case of Flashpoint. If Flashpoint keeps their previous roster with Xenotronics, Incon, I don't think they make it. I don't think they make it at all. Xeno is unfortunate to me because he had potential, but I feel like he just dropped off, man. I don't know what happened to him. I really don't. And then, of course, Aquarius left because Noble took him from Flashpoint, but I don't think Flashpoint really wanted to give him up. Because Aquarius has shown since the very first gauntlet that took place, back when there was Most Wanted making a bit of a run, Aquarius showed he was pretty good. So, if I was Flashpoint, I would have kept him if I had the chance. But anyway, obviously, we know that he wanted to go to Noble, so there you go. But anyway, the changes on Flashpoint are Dante LaFargo, Sheikah, and Sops. Shadowq and Mirage are the players who are coming back from the last split. Now, I think that if everybody can rally around Shadowq and then Mirage and Sheikah can really step up, Flashpoint has a chance to probably get good seeding for the Gauntlet. I don't see them in any scenario making the finals land out of the online stage, but I can definitely see them buying themselves some time, getting a good seeding for the Summer Gauntlet, and possibly making a run through there. It would take a lot of what-ifs to go their way, but I think they can do it. But anyway, that's what I'm feeling about Flashpoint. They've definitely got some upside, more upside than you'd expect from a normal low-tier team in the SPL. But there are a lot of things that are going to have to go their way. Noble Esports, on the other hand, I think that they don't have any potential right now. I hate to say this, but I just think that the way Noble has been playing, I think that MLC has been too greedy. I think that Wowie and Wubbin, as good as they are, I mean, they are really inconsistent. Particularly Wubbin. Wowie, he's gonna produce, but Wubbin's been pretty inconsistent. Again, both of these guys are really, really good, and that's the weird thing about Noble is that their duo lane is one of the best in NA. But as a whole, their team it's never played particularly consistently all at the same time. And that's probably their biggest issue. Another big issue is that they swapped out Cope Baby for Skilodon, and I think Cope had some potential where Skilodon, you know what he's going to do. He's not going to do too much. I'm sorry, Skilodon, but you're like the Matt Schaub of the league, man. You're the guy that everybody knows, going to stick around in the league, and you're good enough to do that, but when somebody thinks, I want to win SWC, they don't think Skilodon. He just doesn't have that level of ability. Whereas Cope just hasn't been given the chance yet. He had that time in solo lane where he literally role swapped and then started playing solo on a pro level. That's not easy when you've been playing jungle most of the time. You've been playing Smite. And quite frankly, when he was playing solo at the start of Season 4 relegations, he was probably the best solo competing. He was that good. So, I mean, you think about it for a second, and I mean, Cope made strides in solo lane, given time, and I think that if some team gives him a chance to play jungle, he will absolutely crush it, because jungle is his main role, without a doubt. Yeah, he was playing solo for a couple months in Season 3, but the jungle is his home. I'm telling you that. He's been playing it for years. So, hopefully the team gives him a chance, but Noble, I think you're making a mistake by getting rid of him. Anyway, Team Allegiance, I'm really liking this change of Guy to Neilma. No, nothing against Guy. I think Guy had potential. Everybody was saying good things about Guy. So, Guy, if you're listening, stick with it, man. People think you have a lot of potential. You'll go places. But Neilma has proven he's one of two players who I really, really like on Gatekeepers, and who I think was really, really consistent. I think as a whole, the team got overrated because they made a decent run in the gauntlet where everybody was playing well at the same time. But the two most consistent players in that team, without a doubt, were Neilma and Kiki Sochiki. Neilma, of course, he's the rookie to the SPL, but still, he's been top level Challenger Cup forever. He's been at that level, I think. He's also been an SPL sub, actually, so he has been listed sub in the past. So, I mean, again, he's been up there since, like, season 0, seemingly. The dude's been around forever. I think now's his time, and I believe he will do pretty well. So, I think that's a good pickup by Allegiance overall. They're not quite getting a veteran, but they're getting a guy with so much experience in the game. He could play like a veteran right out of the gate, which would be awesome. But anyway, Cyclone Spin, Weekend, Met Yankee, Oceans, and Neilma. This team is not far off from the squad that went and made a run that took them all the way to SWC back in Season 3. I think they've got an undeniable amount of potential. Ocean, Cyclone Spin, can just carry games. Weekend, for all of his knocks, can make some of the smartest plays in Smite. I mean, we saw it even against Energy at SWC. Unfortunately, they didn't come out of that winners, but they played their hearts out. It was a really close last game anyway. The first game did not go so well, but second game, they really gave Energy a run for their money in their game against them at SWC. And I think that one of the reasons to do with that was Weekend threw out a game plan that really forced Energy to course correct in order to win that one. So overall, I'd say that Allegiance very well could pop off and be top 2, but I think more than likely we'll see them around 3, 4, maybe. And I think they'll place pretty highly for the Summer Gauntlet. They'll do better than they did in the Spring Split, though. I believe that. I definitely believe that. Now, in memory of Gabe, I expect Walrus to come back to that roster, because if you haven't heard, Walrus left in memory of Gabe, but it doesn't look like there's really going to be any work for him on another team right now. I mean, literally, you look at every other NA roster. You've got Divios on Team Eager, Scary D on Luminosity, Final K on Solar, Benji on EU United, Cyclone Spin on Allegiance, Aquarius on Noble, Dante LaFargo on Flashpoint. While I can definitely see Flashpoint saying, yeah, Walrus, we'll definitely take you on our team, I don't think that that's going to be a place where Walrus wants to go. I mean, if he's open to it, man, and he wants to play for Flashpoint, and he's like, yeah, man, I totally believe we can make a run, maybe he goes and plays for Flashpoint. But other than that, I don't really see a team parting ways with their solo laner. I mean, you look at every other solo laner in the league, and it's like Divios, Scary D, Final K, Benji, Cyclone Spin, Aquarius. Well, Walrus is probably better than Aquarius, Final K, Benji, and even Divios. I'll go as far as saying that. I don't know. Between Cyclone Spin and Divios, I think he's better than one of them for sure, but I think it depends on the time of day. You know what I mean? But basically, I mean, he's better than most of these guys. But the thing is, I don't think he's that much better that it warrants shaking up your roster. Like, in a case of Soar Gaming, sure, Walrus is better than Final K, but Final K is right now making Soar Gaming a really, really good environment. They're really developing their synergy as a team. And Final K is a big cornerstone to that, from what I'm told. So I don't see them changing, for example, and I'd be shocked on other teams if that happened. I think Benji is about as good as Walrus. Maybe. I mean, it's close, you know what I'm saying? But I don't see E United doing that, even though if Walrus were, like, way better than Benji, I could see them taking him, but that's not happening. And speaking of E United, looks like Pain to Beyond is out, Polar Bear Mike is in. And Veriziel is back, aka Scream, aka whatever you want to call him. Spracklin, the man, the Spracklinator is back. So E United right now it's another team that's a lot like Allegiance. They have potential, but they also have the potential to be bad. Now, I liked Pain to Beyond. I thought he was a great personality for Smite. He was this like goofy, stereotypical nerd type. But almost it was like so goofy, he was almost charismatic. So I really like Pain. He was an okay player, good planner, good leader, but the league just got away from him. I think that, he was a lot better in Season 2, relatively, and it's just like slowly he's been kind of falling away in terms of his skill. So Polar Bear Mike definitely better in that role than Pain was. And Veriziel, though, I question I question him. I think there's Skeleton, worst jungler in the league. Then there's Mirage, who's about on par with Veriziel. I'm not a fan. I haven't been a fan since basically after LAN Season 3 at DreamHack. I thought that Veriziel has not performed. In Season 3, I was like, oh, well, he's got potential, though, and I can see why they're keeping him on. Now I don't see why they're keeping him on. I think that Veriziel is a really weak jungler who has potential to pop off, but the problem is, more often than not, he just doesn't. And I think it's been too long, man. Like, he's had over a year to show that he can play consistently on an SPL level, but unfortunately, the dude's just like Skeleton. He's like barely good enough to make it through, and then have a team pick him up. But he's not somebody you can win with. And so, when I was making mental notes at the beginning of the season, I was seriously saying, because I know that like you watch the challengers and you okay, who's gonna come up from the challengers and replace somebody right now, and the two places where I could see the first Challenger Cup jungler going was either going to be to Noble or to E United, replacing El Chapo or replacing Veriziel. And that was my prediction at the time. So, honestly, I think Veriziel's on notice right now because Cope is still hanging around, and if he does not produce, one of the things I can see happening mid-season is actually Veriziel being swapped out for Cope, straight up. Because I think if Veriziel doesn't perform, I mean, Cope at his worst probably could not be worse than what Veriziel does, because Veriziel straight feeds when he's playing badly. You know, he does not do anything out of the jungle, and you need your jungler to do something. Absolutely. So E United, they have potential though. Make no mistake about it. Veriziel has potential. Benji's pretty good. Chaos is pretty good. Panda Cat, really, really good. Polar Bear Mike, pretty decent, but I think he's got to prove himself again after the struggles he had. But the biggest thing is that Benji plays off his team, Chaos plays off his team, Panda Cat will carry. Polar Bear Mike needs to be there with Panda Cat and back him up. You know, that dual lane is going to be what carries United, and they're going to live and die by it. Sword Gaming, okay. Fine, okay. I'm a big Fine OK fan. I love that he's producing a lot of content, so personally I think, dude, keep it up, you're doing great. As for his team play, I think he's been impressive. He's probably my rookie of the year right now if we were giving out such an award. You know, the dude has been fire since he came in, and if he sticks with it, I think that Fine OK is going to be a really, really good player. In the meantime, he's got to prove himself still. He's got more to prove. And I hope he doesn't lose that chip on his shoulder, because the dude is phenomenal when he plays like he's got a chip on his shoulder, you know? So, Homie FA and Star Vedium Jigs in your other rules. Homie Jungle and Star Mid, Vedium ADC, Jigs support. So nothing's really changed since the last time we saw these guys. Soar, one of the favorites to be top 2. Say it right now. I think Soar could win. I don't think they'll beat Luminosity, though, so I think they're my number 2, for sure. Now, that's just going by roster, mind you. I want to be clear about that. We'll go over schedules in just a moment, but Soar, if we're going straight on roster and their previous record this year, without a doubt, they're my number 2 right now, based on everything that has transpired. Now, I think that they have potential to be number 1, and it's always there. I just think it depends on the production of Homie Efe and Fine OK. Homie is really, really good, and he'll play for his team, and without a doubt, he's an excellent jungler all around. I think he definitely needs to be a little bit more consistent, and in that, I think Soar needs to do him a favor and let him pick more of what he wants, or give him more comfort picks. None of this Odin crud. You know, Odin's just not that good right now anyway. I don't know why they would draft a pick like that. But anyway, I digress. Soar's been winning a lot, so, you know, they know a few things that I don't, so I'll give him the benefit of a doubt. But let Homie play comfortable gods, please. I think if you do that, he'll play more consistently online. Homie does really, really, really well online. That's where he's at home. And Soar could potentially sneak up behind Luminosity and swipe that number 1 spot if they play that right. And that'd be huge for them. Absolutely huge. Luminosity Gaming, everybody's current favorites right now. Barracuda is carrying harder than anybody in the world right now. Best ADC in the world without a doubt. You know, it's just so deep in NA. All respect to Ataraxia. All respect to Ambolito. All respect to all the EU ADCs in the world. Barracuda is just the best. I mean, the dude's a grinder, and that's what you gotta love about him. He's talented, but he also plays like crazy. He works. I mean, there's a lot of respect that you gotta give to this guy for the amount of time he puts into his craft. So, Barracuda, best ADC in the world. Everybody loves him. Probably one of the reasons why everybody loves Luminosity Gaming, because he's like the face of the org in Smite. Jeff Hinla, nobody can forget him. Jeff, a very, very professional player in the sense that he's very, very clean in what he does. The dude plays hard. He's very cerebral, but he's also mechanically skilled. And then Baskin, probably the best role swap we've had all year. You know, in any league, Baskin to mid has been a really, really good change. He was the fastest to adapt to his role, faster than Aninster even. And I really like him as a mid, so I think Baskin, one of the best mids in the league right now. I mean, that's actually the thing about it, is that if you look at mids in the league, I think that's probably the weakest role in North America compared to EU. EU has some excellent mids. In NA, you have Aninster, Baskin, and the best. Anybody else who's in the league can show up on a given day, but they're not that good. I'm sorry, MLC Stealth. I'm sorry, Chaos. You guys have not produced enough lately to be considered good. You know, we've seen what mids can do in EU, but not NA. I'm sorry. You gotta, NA mids have gotta start stepping up. When Baskin and Aninster are probably top 3 right now, that's not good. These two guys transferred from other roles. And finally, we've got Team Eager's roster. So Divios, Samper Soccer 2, the aforementioned, the best, Zapman, and Aurora. So, Team Eager, they swapped out DJ Pernicus. Basically, we thought Divios was going to be leaving as well, but then they decided, nah, Divios, you can stay, man. Good on them. I think that was probably smart. You know, the only thing that I could see happening is if they somehow got that Hail Mary Walrus pickup, because they had left around the same time Divios and Walrus had. So, I think there is potential for Eager Walrus, but I think sticking with Divios is still smart, considering that Divios' game is more... It meshes better with Team Eager for sure, but I hate Divios' god pool right now. You know, he's got to go back to the Warriors that he basically pioneered way early on. He's got to stop playing the Guardian so much. I know that Eager likes being different, but the problem I have with Team Eager is their different is not better. Unlike some of the strategies that you see coming out of EU, I think they make weird draft decisions that are somewhat cheesy to what they want to do. You know, they draft exclusively, okay, where do we want to be at a certain period of time? That's my impression of how Eager drafts. You know, and they want to draft perfectly to fit the comp that they want to come online at a certain time and then win. But too often I see them just giving up the solo lane for that, basically, with Divios on some weird pick. You guys need to go back to playing a little bit more conventionally, and then, you know, maybe building on the current meta instead of building on what I think is kind of archaic, frankly, for Smite. Their picks are not up to stuff. They're not up to snuff right now, so I think with Sam in the jungle, I think they could see a revival. You know, supposedly he is an extremely talented player. Supposedly he's got great mechanical skills, but he's been compared to Adjust in that he has had very good mechanics. I think Adjust is probably the safe comparison though, because Adjust is like, if you turn out to be Adjust, that's like worst case scenario, but certainly it can be said that if you've got mechanics like Adjust, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. And then of course I've also heard him compared to Aninster in that, you know, he can start turning really, really passive if he gets beat badly. So if he starts getting beat back, he could turn really, really passive for his team. That might not be so good, but it's probably a little bit better than DJ's style, which is just go in, go in, go in, go in, and if somebody's gonna feed, it could very well be DJ. So Sam, probably an improvement overall, but we'll see how that goes. The best Atman Aurora, all coming back. The best, I think he's one of the best mids right now in NA. I think it's bad, though, that he is, just because his picks are so weird and he doesn't really carry games usually. once they brought Raw back into the meta, that was like the best thing Eager has done lately. In the last year, that was probably the biggest thing, is when they really brought Raw back, and the best was like, okay, I'm sniping everybody, and then Raw was just getting banned left and right. That kind of thing was when the best was at his peak, but he's got to come back to that now. I think he's got it in him. Again, I render respect to this guy for a reason. He's got to come back. Got to come back. And then Zapman. Zapman's always really, really good. Probably the most consistent player on Team Eager, but he also gets the most conventional picks. And then Aurora probably does the best if they have him pick anything weird. I'd say Aurora overall, very versatile player. And mechanically, just insane, frankly. So Zapman and Aurora, again, a lot like Soar and Luminosity. I think the strengths of each team are their duo lanes, I mean, heck, all respect to guys like Ananister, Baskin, Scary D, Homie FA. But on each of these teams, I think where they live and die are going to be their duo lanes. I mean, even Vedium and Jigs, it's like, you need them to be good. You really need them to be good if you want Soar to have a hope, because Vedium has proven he can be one of the best. Jigs is one of the quietest top tier supports in all of Smite, but I think he's subtle, but he's there. These duo lanes right now, we're gonna be looking at, heck, even United. You can look at all these teams should be living and dying by their duo lanes right now, and if their duo lanes step up, they could be top 2. Any of these 4 between Soar, United, Luminosity, and Eager. But of course, you've got really, really good junglers on Luminosity and Soar. You've got really, really good solos on Eager and United. And on Luminosity, I mean, they're just good players across the board of these teams. So we'll see what happens, but I just feel like the differentiation is going to be in duo lane. And, I think that's where Eager and Luminosity do better than anybody else, is that they've got the most consistent duo lanes in all of Smite, except for like Wowie and Wubbin all the way down here on Noble Esports. But the problem is that Wowie and Wubbin aren't as consistent even. But, I mean, when they're both playing on, I'd say they're top 3 duo, straight up. They've stayed together for a while. They really have. So let's go ahead and look at the schedules here. It's going to be a 5-week contest between these teams in the online stage. So I won't go down game by game, but I'm just going to glance over these. Kind of give you guys an idea of what's going on here in terms of how easy or hard the schedules are going to be. Everybody's going to play everybody, but I think timing is going to have a lot to do with how teams are going to end up placing. So if you think about it, if a team like Flashpoint has an easy early schedule, there's a lot more potential for them to pop off, right? There's a lot more potential for them to take a mid seed in the Smite Pro League. So certainly, if it's like Flashpoint goes up against Noble, and then they go up against In Memory of Gabe and Team Allegiance, and they win those, that could be the motivation. That could be the shot in the arm that they need. So without further ado, it looks like, just looking at Flashpoint's schedule though, it doesn't look like it's going to be that easy. They've got Soar early, then they have to face off against Eager, and they got Luminosity Gaming. There's a game against Allegiance and In Memory of Gabe within that 3-week stretch, but the problem is that if that's the easiest you're doing and you're not getting Noble in that time, that could spell trouble. I think that what the key here is if they had faced off against Noble early. I think that could influence them to do pretty good things. But with that in mind, I mean, geez, actually, yeah, their schedule is pretty tough. They don't play Noble until week 5. So overall, I honestly think that Flashpoint probably gonna place 7th, and that's what we're going with. So I'm gonna write that down. Gonna write that down in the video, actually. That way at the end, you guys can like fast forward to the end of the video and be like, oh, this is what he's picking. So we'll go ahead and insert some text here. There we go, NA SPL placements. Just writing this down real quick. We have life. Here we go. There we are. And I'm going to keep it the way it is. I kind of like it this way. So there you have it. 7th place right now, Flashpoint. We've gone over one team. On to Noble. So they have Luminosity, Soar, In Memory of Gabe, Allegiance, United, Eager, Soar, and then Flashpoint finally. So similar situation to Flashpoint, but with less upside for the team. Straight up. Again, they've got a lot of hard games early. You know, 2 out of the 3 are probably losses in the first 2 weeks, and I think those first 2 weeks are vital, and they set the tone for how your team's going to do. So on that note, I think Noble's finishing 8th. I believe that. You know, Drelo said it to me first on this podcast, but I see where he's coming from. So again, we'll just write this down. Boom, there we go. So 8 Noble Esports. And Allegiance. Now here's where things get a little bit tricky. I was talking about they could go one way, they could go another. It's hard to tell which games they should win and which games they shouldn't. That's the biggest issue I have with this team. It is impossible to tell which way they're going to go. Really. So you've got Allegiance against Luminosity and then Allegiance against Flashpoint. Now, do they beat Flashpoint? I think they very well can. I think they could lose that. I think they could split. You know, I think right now I'm feeling that they split out every single game. Every single set in their first 2 weeks. So that'll put them at 3 splits, and that's probably the biggest problem that Allegiance has had is they split a lot. And when you split a lot, you don't place well. But then they've gone up against they've got Noble, they've got Eager, then they have an off week, and then they play In Memory of Gabe. So actually, in theory, if they can just split off of the big teams, you know, they don't lose to anybody they shouldn't, and if they do struggle, they split, and then they win off of like Noble and then In Memory of Gabe, I can see them doing pretty well. Because that would be, let's see, 3 for wins, so that'd be 6 points. So that would be predicting that they go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that would predict that they would get 9 points. That would probably put them in around 4th place or 5th place. And yeah, if they do that, they're setting themselves up for success in a gauntlet run. That's kind of the way Allegiance is built. So I'll go with 5th place. I'll say Allegiance is going to be 5th. Again, we're going to write this in. Watch the magic happen, ladies and gents who actually are watching the video. I know probably most people are zoning out at this point. But if you want to come check up, we're writing this down. Ooh. Alright. Now, real quick, we're going to go over In Memory of Gabe. So, In Memory of Gabe, one of those teams where I think they could be good, but they might actually choke and regress. I think everybody overrated them at the start of the season, saying, oh, wow, look at In Memory of Gabe, because, you know, in relegations, teams sometimes look better than they are. I think this team's middle of the pack. I think that's where they belong. But I see them as high as 4th, as low as 6th, and looking at their schedule, I think it kind of reflects that. You know, they got games they should win. They should beat Noble. They should beat Flashpoint. But other than that, you know, they could drop sets to everybody else. They've got Eager, Luminosity, United, all before they have to face off against Allegiance. So, I mean, they got a couple easy games in there, but it's like, dang, man, you've got a real gauntlet of a schedule. A real gauntlet of a schedule, man. So that'll be difficult. Anyway, I think just looking at their schedule though, this is the hardest starting off because I don't think it's that hard starting off actually. So we'll give them the benefit of a doubt. I will give them the benefit of a doubt. And so you know what? In memory of Gabe, you guys are gonna finish 4th place. I think they recreate the successes and the mistakes they had from last split. I mean, I can't diss Walrus. I can't diss Snoopy. Again, this is assuming, of course, that Walrus is coming back. If Walrus doesn't come back, they're 6th place, without a doubt. Without a doubt. But I do trust that Snoopy's good enough to make sure they don't fall further than that if they do. There you go. 4th place in memory of Gabe. So we still have 6. We still have 1 through 3 open. And we have Team Eager, Luminosity, Soren, E United left to go. Which one of these teams is going to fall, huh? Well, here's my prediction. My prediction is that E United falters this split, and they have some roster changes before the gauntlet. So here's what's going to happen. I think E United drops or splits their first set against In Memory of Gabe, and that kind of sets the tone for the season. I see them losing 0-2 to Eager, and then I see them splitting with Allegiance. So right off the bat, 2 splits and a set loss. I think that kind of gasses them, and then maybe they 2-0 Noble, maybe they split, I don't know, but I don't see them beating LG. I don't see them winning a single game against SOAR right now. And as much as I like this team, I think that Polar Bear Mike is going to take some time to really spin up, and I think that Verizio will be replaced. I think Payne got rid of him for a reason, and it goes beyond just, oh, Payne doesn't like him. Verizio is one of the weaker junglers in the league, and you need a strong jungler right now. And it's going beyond a level of, oh, he has to be the best of the best, because obviously, well, there is always room at the top. You know, there are not that many people who can objectively be considered the best at what they do in a competitive setting. But certainly there are a base level of skills that you can set for people who are going to participate in the SPL, and I think Verizio doesn't measure up to that. You know, he does not measure up to the standard right now that we have in the league. So I see him being replaced before the gauntlet. I see E United placing 6th, and they're going to turn around and go, what do we do now? I think they do have potential to perform a lot better at the gauntlet again. Allegiance and E United probably going to be my sleeper teams for the gauntlet if we go there, you know. I think those are the 2 teams that you look at and go, okay, they could win this whole thing. There you go, E United, 6th place. And I'll bold this too at the end so it's easier to see. I'm noticing it's probably going to be easier to see if it's like thicker letters. So I'll be sure to change that when you guys can fast forward to the end and check this out. So SOAR Gaming right now, it's as I said, they're my number 2 team. I said it before because it's honestly a no-brainer. Top 2 is easy right now because unless something crazy happens, unless somebody just stops producing, and granted, I can see SOAR dropping off. I don't see them dropping behind Eager right now. I think the top 3 is, it's still pretty steady just because the teams have some really, really consistent players that they can lean on who are just so incredibly good. And it's not just 1 player, it's 2 players, 3 players. Guys who you can count on, guys who have proven they're at the top of their game. So, SOAR Gaming, without a doubt, number 2. Team Eager, my number 3. And then Luminosity, my number 1. So basically the reasoning for that is that Team Eager, Zapman, Aurora, super reliable, the best. Even when he's not at his best, he plays really, really well. I mean, his statistics were still pretty good. I just think that he didn't give me that sort of, I'm going to carry this game presence that I saw at the, what is it? Oh gosh, I forget what it's called. The group stage LAN, was it? It was a weird LAN setup in Season 3 Fall. but basically the best was on fire there, and I kind of missed that best. But still, you've got some pretty consistent, solid players on Eager. So let's write this in. And there you have it, folks. Let me just pull this letters in. There you go. This is a lot easier to see. That is so much easier to see. So there you have it, guys. This is my NA SPL predictions. Thanks so much for listening, guys. I appreciate your listening very, very much. If you have feedback, negative or positive, please don't hesitate to let me know in the comments section. I appreciate anything you guys have to share. And seriously, even if it's just Will, I hate you, maybe I can derive some kind of learning from that. I intend to try and make this podcast better as I go along, so seriously, if you guys have anything you want to say, want to add, want to think that I should do, tell me, and I'd be happy. If you really liked what I did, please check me out at my Twitter handle, @GreatWhatever. I'm talking Smite all the time on there, so if you guys can't get enough, you all know where to find me. And if you really, really liked me, well, check out the description below. Anyway, thanks to y'all, and have a great day.